All right. I think you'll be able to hear me. I don't know. Nick, take the front off. There we go. Hello and welcome to the 60-yard dash. You know, I really didn't think of that name through when I created it because, yeah, the 50-yard dash. 60-yard dash doesn't make any sense. It could have been the 100-yard dash. We could have really done something. This is the second night of our new weekly shows. Last night we had a phenomenal baseball show from Gavin, the circus monkey himself, and Nick with the wind-up. Tonight we bring you football. On Wednesday we had two, not just one, but 2 hours of wrestling. And then on Thursday, we have our amazing doubleheader. We have hockey and basketball. But right now, we have football talking now. Luther, welcome. We love you. We always see you. And if my co-host here, Nick, wants to jump in at any point, should be about right. There he is. I have Nick here from Talk Interference Sports with me. As per usual, this is our show. Of course, we're both going to be here. So, today, we are going to open up our show with the XFL. Now, since the buyout of the XFL happened, we all know something is going to happen. Now, The Rock and his team, Danny Garcia, the media team, they bought the XFL for $15 million, and a lot of people thought they bought that for brand rights. The Rock has since come out and said that he is going to be making a football league. The question then begs, with the media company's ties to the NFL, is the XFL going to be turned into the NFL Farm Teams Spring League? Nick, what do you think?
So I wouldn't be opposed to it being the, farm league per se. It would really bode well for the NFL to have developmental situations where, if the backup quarterback needed to get a little bit more time in, or the backup running back, or even offensive line or defensive line guys that just needed a little bit of extra time to work on basic fundamentals because they're not getting regular snaps. I think it's a fantastic place for us to start with the XFL with that. And I think that the prior version of the XFL before The Rock bought it was working perfectly to give those guys those reps and the video time for people to be able to study the way that these guys were performing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to turn out.
Now, how would you make that work on a logistical standpoint? Because obviously there's 32 NFL teams. So how do you make it a farm system if you don't have 32 teams to correlate?
So like we talked about it last week, I didn't think that was a kind of where they were at last XFL season. They're not going to be able to do the same way that they did it. But if they made 32 teams, obviously it's going to be perfect. And you've got basically a taxi squad at that point, basically how the MLB has with the AAA, AA, single A. And that would be perfect for them. But if you're not going to go with 32 teams and every single individual team in the NFL having their own branch per se, basically the same way that they had it set up last season is the ideal way, is in my opinion. What about you, Jake?
I think the best way that they could pull that off, where it's an actual, I love the green screen going straight through your cup. That was funny. I think the best way to pull it off would be to have every division. So like the AFC East has the New York Guardians. The NFC West has whatever team was closest to them. And that's the easiest way to split that up. You brought pretty much your division all goes to the same team.
Yeah.
And then geographically, it makes sense. So if the Patriots need to call up Jake Jollymore quarterback because Cam Newton and Jared Stidham both go down and Brian Hoyer sucks, then I'm just right there in New York. I also don't like the idea of the spring league for the developmental league. Friday night games, college on Saturday, NFL on Sunday. Easy.
Yeah.
I don't think they need 16 games either. I think they should run 8 weeks in the middle of the season with the playoffs next.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about it that way, and I like your perspective on that. You kind of changed my mind on it.
That's what I do. I am a great debater.
I like it.
I guess you could call me a master debater. Oh, this show's already wild today.
We got it. We're killing it.
So that's realistically the best way to make it work, in my opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's other ways that, and The Rock could have something completely out of left field that we don't know about planned. Maybe he's thinking 16 teams across the country, this team and this team, all go to this team. I think it's hockey has a league that does that, where they have 2 teams that go to it's basketball. It has 2 teams, they go to the same farm team.
Yeah, the summer league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad idea either, but that's also a lot more people playing, more extensive teams. You now have to create another 8 teams on top of that.
Whatever they do, honestly, whatever they do, I think that if they stick with the core teams that they picked in the XFL last season, if you at least have those, because those were put in geographical spots for a reason, they make sense in a market. Like the places that they had it just made sense. The Houston Roughnecks. Like, why wouldn't you have another team back in Houston? The New York Guardians. Obviously, that covers a whole cultural area. Perfect for them. Seattle. We don't have a lot of representation up here on the West Coast, man. Up north in the West Coast. And then LA Guardians, I think.
Didn't you guys just get a hockey team?
We just got a hockey team, man.
Don't you have a baseball team and a football team?
Come on, man. Really? There's Oregon. There's Oregon up here. Yo, I'm not saying we don't have as much or that much representation. I'm saying
I live in New England where nobody's heard of you if you're not from Boston.
Come on, man. Don't give me that. You root for the.
I just gave you that.
No, I'm just gonna take that. I'm just gonna take it. Have
you ever heard of anybody say, "Oh, I'm from Littleton, New Hampshire"? I know where that is.
How much?
I live in New Hampshire, and I don't know where Littleton, New Hampshire is.
How much respect do the Seattle Seahawks get, even though that they have not missed the playoffs but one time in the last 9-10 years?
Well, everyone calls Russell Wilson one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league.
Just recently. This is a recent
thing. He's only
been
in the league for 8-9 years?
Come on, man.
Come on.
How many times has he been in an MVP race with people and then he just gets edged out for no apparent reason? Come on, man. We'll have this discussion later. That
discussion will be, is Russell Wilson actually an MVP?
And I think he is. Man. But we'll talk about that.
Lamar Jackson should not have beat out Russell Wilson. Actually,
I think Patrick Mahomes should have had it last year.
If I'm being fully honest, Christian McCaffrey should have had it because the MVP, and we just completely tangented off of our script. If the MVP is what it actually is supposed to be, and that's the most important,
the most valuable
player to your team. That is CMC all day. Last season.
Look at the Seahawks last year and look at their defense and look at the offensive weapons that they had and the offensive line. If they didn't have Russell Wilson, they're not winning 8 games, bro. Like, not even close to 8 games. If
Carolina didn't have Christian McCaffrey, they don't win anything. They maybe win 2 games all season.
I don't know. Well, let's revisit this next week.
All right. So
let's revisit this one next week.
We give people a teaser.
I like it. So, where do we want to go from here?
I think it's a good, and somebody already brought it up. I'm going to tangent a little here.
Okay.
Lamar Miller. Nope, wrong comment. Lamar Miller.
Okay.
So what do we think about the Lamar Miller signing? Now, we already know that Brandon Bolden over in New England has opted out of the season, and Sony Michel is starting the year on the is football calling it the IR now, or is it the DL still? Like, what is it? The injured list? PUP?
Pup.
Every sport's changing it
Physically
completely
unable
right
to
now.
perform. Pup.
So Sony Michel will not be there for the beginning of the year. Lamar Miller, well, he still doesn't make sense in that backfield. It still has James White, Rex Burkhead, Damian Harris, who, by the way, apparently Bill Belichick just hates the kid. Drafted him in the 3rd round 2 years ago. He's had like 13 snaps his entire Patriots career. Why do we still have this kid? Doesn't matter. So we signed Lamar Miller. Why? Of all the things we need, a running back wasn't one of them.
I'm going to ask you, me personally, I like Rex Burkhead, but how reliable is that guy in the last 2-3 years?
He was the most healthy scratch in Patriots history for the last or any 3-year span since 2000.
So you take Rex Burkhead out, and you're looking at who now?
James White, Damian Harris.
James White isn't a terrible running back. I think he, in the system that he's in, it works really well. But I think mostly you're looking at depth with Lamar Miller. And if I'm not mistaken, Lamar Miller in the last like 3-4 years, when he has been playing, has been pretty able to be a dual threat with catching the ball and being able to, let's say, a third down back, pick up the short yards. And Lamar Miller's pretty reliable for that. I think it's a pretty good move for the Patriots.
I think, if anything, what's really going to happen is he won't make it out of camp.
Okay, that's fair.
Look at all these other players that have come in. Albert Hainsworth.
Okay.
Cut before camp ended.
Yeah.
All those wide receivers. They made Reggie Wayne retire because the culture is so unfun. He didn't make it out of camp. It's a common trend for older players to go to the Patriots, absolutely hate the system, and be like, yeah, time to retire, guys. It's been fun.
Look at Michael Bennett.
Yep. Michael Bennett did not fit in this system at all.
He played for Dallas for a little bit, but they weren't going to pick him back up. Like we all knew that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think
Michael Bennett was a very bad signing for the Patriots.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. He did not
fit this system under any. And the minute that they signed him, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't fit the system.
Yeah.
And then he didn't. So that's all we got on Lamar Miller. In all honesty, I mean, he doesn't fit that backfield because as soon as Sony Michel comes in, he's just going to get cut.
I think if he makes it out of training camp, he'll be a good spot for New England. Me, honestly, personally, I think it'll be okay for them. But if you're right, tell me I'm wrong when it happens.
All right. I will gladly tell you you're wrong. So we're going to go into Doug Marrone and Jacksonville. Now, this has been a very, very interesting developing situation. Tom Coughlin was blamed for all of the issues in Jacksonville. Every single one. Now, you have people like Jalen Ramsey who are still bashing Doug Marrone. Yannick Ngakoue refuses to play still. And C.J. Henderson, the rookie, has already made a statement about Doug Marrone. So why is Doug Marrone still in Jacksonville?
Why don't you tell me what your thoughts are real quick? And let's discuss. Because I think we're going to be on the same page on this one.
So it's pretty clear and obvious that Doug Marrone does not create a good football culture. He does not create a winning culture. And these players in Jacksonville has been drafting out of this world for the last 10 years. The players they draft have been phenomenal. Jalen Ramsey, Yannick Ngakoue, Miles Jack, Leonard Fournette, before that injury actually pretty much ruined his career. Allen Hurns, Allen Robinson. The list goes on. And maybe they didn't produce when they left Jacksonville, but in Jacksonville, they were the perfect fit for that team. DJ Shark. Now, the issue that we have is somehow things went wrong. They brought in Tom Coughlin to bring in a winning culture. And then he decided to drop some racist terms. in the locker room.
So I don't even know if it's going to boil down to the basic racist terms. Like, yeah, that's messed up. He should be held accountable for that. Absolutely wrong. That needs to be addressed. And it has been addressed.
I think Tom Coughlin has basically been blacklisted from the NFL. So
when we're looking at Tom Coughlin, we're looking at one of those old school, like, back in the 50s, 60s type of guy that if you don't do it my way, I'm going to make you pay for it. And that it's 2020 now. And that type of situation, it doesn't work anymore. The NFL, the world that America is in, we don't live in those standards anymore. The toxic culture that Coughlin had created should be eradicated. With him leaving, Marrone should be gone too, because he fed into it. He was right there. He was totally being like, okay, like this is just how things go. The Jags went 6-10 and have been fourth in the AFC South the last three of the 4 last years. I don't think going 10-6 and winning the AFC South, making it to an AFC championship in 2017 justifies having Doug Marrone still in a coaching spot. Doug Caldwell should be gone. The Jags need to hit the reset button on this. This is absolutely a travesty and a dumpster fire.
That was very well put, and I'm very proud of you. The minute they fired Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone should have been announced less than 5 minutes later. And don't get me wrong,
agree.
I absolutely love Shad and Tony Khan. The Khan family, they are my favorite owners in all of sports for how many sports they own, how well they hire their staff normally, and how they handle and present themselves. But having Doug Marrone, who fed into Tom Coughlin's culture, stick around after you get rid of Tom Coughlin, it sets a bad precedent. And had you fired Doug Marrone and hired anybody, I bet you Yannick Ngakoue would still be playing for you and not refuse it.
This is like getting an infection, let's say on your finger, and letting it spread to your hand, but only cutting everything off up to the thumb and leaving the infection in your thumb all the way up to your arm still sit there.
Brandon, you only like them because of AEW. So for those of you that don't know, Tony Khan, the son of Shad, owns a wrestling company called All Elite Wrestling. I'm very into All Elite Wrestling, but I have liked the Khan family since long before they had AEW. So I'm a quote-unquote in the closet Jacksonville Jaguars fan. My wife actually thinks I like the Jaguars more than I like my hometown Patriots because I've been following them that intently since the start of our relationship. She just yells in the other room, it's true. So
you're telling Christina.
I love their drafting. I love the way they approach the draft. I love the way they develop their players. They have a very great system in Jacksonville. And in any sport, that's the team I follow. Houston, before this whole cheating scandal, they went from really, really, really bad, had all these great years of drafting, became really, really good. Cheated to win a championship, not the point. But at that time, I was following Houston. Minnesota's doing the same thing right now. The Vikings, I'm following them because that's the team I like. I like the team that has that homegrown talent. They're not afraid to move around the draft. They're not afraid to do what they need to do to build their own team rather than buy it. Now, yeah, Jacksonville went out, made a few splashes in the middle of all this with Calais Campbell and A.J. Bouye. But at the end of the day, most of that team was home drafted talent. And that's what I like to see.
One of my favorite things, and I absolutely agree with you, in sports is to be able to watch a team go from such a terrible dumpster fire that a team is, let's say the Jacksonville Jaguars previously, and hit that reset button and be able to come out here and win the AFC South and make it all the way to the AFC Championship against the New England Patriots. This is a good culture that got a little bit of toxin in it and Tom Coughlin, and Doug Marrone needs to be gone, and Caldwell needs to be gone as well.
I don't think Doug Marrone makes it through the season.
I hope not. I think the GM needs to be gone too, man. I keep saying it. Dude, you guys.
Well, Coughlin was the GM. No, Coughlin was the GM.
Well, okay.
So we have a new GM in now.
I think Caldwell needs to be gone just because of the previous. It's all good. It's all good.
I think at the end of the season they should reset completely. I mean, Minshew's definitely not the answer at quarterback. Trading Nick Foles was also a horrible move. Go ahead.
Let Minshew sit behind another starting quarterback for a couple years. Let him develop. Or if the XFL goes into a developmental league, drop him down to the XFL. But Minshew, give him 3 to 5 years. I think he could be not an elite quarterback, but one of those quarterbacks that you could have in a starting position and lead a team to an extra amount of victories because you have Minshew instead of, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I would have kept Nick Foles. First off, the dead money on that trade alone made that not worth it. That's good. That's the kind of move that puts you in a salary cap hell later down the road.
I'm biased because I watched him and listened to him from Wazoo, and I've always been a Minshew fan. So
he's so inaccurate, and he makes horrible decisions.
Give him a little bit of time, bro. I'm telling you, we could see some good development from him. But you might be right.
So we had a comment earlier from Brandon Herrera that pretty much predicted what we were going to talk about next. So let's bring up the comment. How is what's going on in college? I'm going to turn this into English real quick. How is what's going on in college going to affect the NFL with the postponements and the cancellations? So we have 2 conferences that have canceled. Nick, can you tell me what they are? Do you remember?
The Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
Correct. So what are your thoughts? Do you think it's going to have an effect on the NFL? Do you think they're going to go on, or?
There's enough conferences in the college football NCAA that they can figure out a way to make football happen without these 2 conferences. Now, if they keep dropping like flies, we're going to run into some issues. But there's always other opportunities for these guys to be able to get back into playing football. Always opportunities for these guys to get into football. The Pac-10 or the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, I mean, pretty big loss. It's a big loss, but you don't necessarily need them to continue a college football season, in my opinion.
The Pac-12 was basically the first Power 5 to back out. Now, with that being said, and then we're going to sidetrack because this wasn't the original thing me and Nick had talked about, but I think he kind of forgot about it. How does this affect players' draft stock if they're going to opt out of the season?
I think you kind of have to look at the 2020 season in football, actually just kind of in sports in general, and look at it as, we ran into some uncircumstantial situations where people are going to have to deal with not having sports for as long as we have. Look at what the guy has done in the past. And even when you're drafting regularly and you have that extra year, your senior year, you're rolling the dice anyway. I mean, all it takes is for one guy to get injured and his draft stock went from all the way up here to all the way down here. So take it with a grain of salt, in my opinion.
I think it's going to come down to the combine, the off-season scouting workouts. They're going to become more important than ever for this to work.
Absolutely.
And Yeah, like you said, players risk that senior year. A college football player can opt out and go into the NFL after junior year. That senior year is really I want to up my
Developmental.
stock.
Yeah.
I want to up my stock. I want the teams to notice me more, and it's still a risk that they take. It may or may not pan out. You may end up dropping in the draft or going undrafted because you decide to stay senior year. Now, the only flaw in all of this is what if these conferences go to a spring schedule? And Brandon's comment here, the top college QB, whose name I can't remember, will be the top pick, Trevor Lawrence. His name is Trevor Lawrence, Clemson. So what happens if they go to a spring schedule when all these teams are supposed to be scouting for the draft that happens in the spring?
Like I was saying, uncircumstantial situations that you're just going to have to deal with. This is a curveball that all sports is going to have to deal with. Nobody saw COVID happening, and you just got to take a swing and figure it out.
I think if they're going to make a spring schedule work, they're going to have to either have it done by the NFL draft or have a quote-unquote opt-out for the NFL draft. So you could see a national championship game without any of the star players because they've been drafted into the NFL. That's a national championship game I don't want to watch.
Why would you have guys that are trying to make it into the NFL and opt into the draft play in a game like the championship bowl when in weeks they're going to be drafted? I think it's a complete risk that they don't need to
put it bluntly. The bowl games, the college football championship, none of it matters.
It doesn't.
Oh, cool, you got Clemson a championship. They just made a shit ton of money off of you. That's all that happened there.
No, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Players don't give a literal damn about those games.
No.
So if they can get out of them, they're going to.
I would
they
too.
Would gladly.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And think about it. Anybody that's opting out right now as it is to play the college football season, they're really just saving their body to go to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
The number 5, and I forget his name off the top of my head, but the number 5 draft prospect, the defensive tackle, opted out. And the first thing he said is, I want to keep my body fresh.
Yeah. And there's no reason to risk your body for, these college athletes get in trouble when they get paid by people for sponsorship deals and stuff like that. Because
although that is slowly going away now.
It's because the college wants to make money off of them. Yep. Why risk your body for somebody who doesn't want to reciprocate?
You can take any big name college player over the past 20 years, and they've probably at least made $1 million off of that one player.
Oh, I guarantee you. I guarantee.
Like Cam Newton at Auburn, for instance, they made a metric shit ton off of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with the Big Ten and the Pac-12 canceling, there's also the SEC that is talking about a 1-year super conference with any teams that still want to play. So, Notre Dame has already opted into one of the divisions. I forget which division it is because they are still independent.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Big Ten and the SEC, or not the SEC, sorry, the Pac-12, you can opt into the SEC if the SEC still continues for this one season to keep playing. I don't like that. I love the idea of a super conference. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea. But I don't like forcing these players who at this moment think, hey, we're not playing right now. This is safe. We're good. I don't like the idea of, hey, no, never mind. We're going to go to the SEC for the season.
Nope.
Okay, but then how does the Pac-12 have a spring season if 3 of their teams just played in the SEC for the season?
Yeah, it makes it cattywampus and completely unnecessary.
Ryan Boyce with, I think it's the ACC for Notre Dame. That sounds right. I believe so.
I think honestly, you just need to let things happen. Like I said, again, we're going back to this. This is a curveball. Nobody saw COVID happening, and let these college players stay healthy in the extended off season, so that they can either come back to college and play for you healthy, or go into the NFL draft and make a career.
So what this really, really boils down to, and this is going to be pretty much the end of this subject for us, and it might be another long-winded response from both of us, but does this actually, or in any way, shape, or form, is it going to affect the NFL season being played?
No. Nope.
You don't think that college canceling at all will in any way, shape, or form affect the NFL?
If you didn't have an entire college football, well, of course it's going to affect it. It's going to affect the scouting. It's going to affect, who's looking at who. Obviously, that's scouting, but it's going to affect it. It's going to affect it. But if college football doesn't happen, the NFL is still going to happen. So
okay, let's strip this all down for a second, though.
Ultimately, it doesn't really matter.
Take everything else out of it and just put games on the table. The college football cancels completely. Goes to spring.
Yep.
Does the NFL continue to play?
Yes.
In less than a month from now.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I fully agree. The NFL has already come too far to turn around.
Yeah.
No matter what this season is happening. Will it end is a whole different story. But it will start.
Yeah.
I think it was a month from yesterday is our first Thursday night game between the Texans and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It will start no matter what. There is no stopping the start at this point.
They've gone too far and invested too much, even in players' association bargain agreements, for this to even remotely be a question. The NFL season is going to start. Now, how it ends is up in the air.
So our good friend Brandon, one of our super fans over here at GCSN, we love him. No college football season will affect those players who might have been on the bubble of being drafted or not. That goes both ways. If you're under the bubble, you could move up because people above the bubble are moving down. It goes both ways.
But go right back to the fact that we just talked about how awesome it is that The Rock just bought the XFL. So perfect timing, maybe. I don't know. Look at these college guys who are on the bubble, and maybe they can get a chance in the XFL.
So we have a very weird preseason this year.
Absolutely.
There's no games. There's no games. We have
It is
nothing.
very weird.
Absolutely nothing. We can't base our predictions on anything except last season. So I'm calling this one the way too early season predictions because we don't know shit about this season.
Well, I just wrote it as the early 2020 NFL predictions, but let's just talk about it based on last year and what we know now on who's opted out. Yes. Let's leave it at that.
Let's start with the AFC East. We're going to do this very easy, guys. It's going to be who we think is going to win the AFC East, and we're going to go through each division, and then we're going to say who we think is going to win the wild cards, and we're going to give our reasons why. That's it. Keep it simple. We're not going to go into the unless you think the Dolphins are going to win the division. We don't care about the Dolphins in this conversation. We're going to make this easy for you. I don't think the Dolphins are going to win the division, so just move past that.
I think this is absolutely the year for the Bills to win the division. This is the Bills' time. Now, I don't know how long that window is going to be, but the Bills' opportunity is right now. Right now. And anybody's going to give them a chance to lose the division, it's going to be the Jets.
I fully agree. The Patriots sure as hell aren't winning the division for the 12 straight years.
Yeah, I think that streak's going to snap this year.
So I fully agree. I have the Bills winning the division. They have such a stellar defense, and arguably, I will say arguably, because I fully believe the best cornerback in the league is Tre'Davious White.
Okay. All right.
And Josh Allen has already matured from when he joined the league. So it's going to be absolutely phenomenal to watch the Patriots just their demise this year. Coming from a Patriots fan, I really shouldn't be saying that.
No, I like it, man. I'm ready for this has been I hate the Patriots. But this has probably been the best dynasty that the NFL has ever seen.
It's the best dynasty any sport's ever seen.
The New England Patriots have absolutely dominated, and the reign is over. The reign is over. Tom Brady's gone.
It's over for one season, because if they do end up with that number 1 pick and Trevor Lawrence, y'all screwed for another 20 years.
So let's bring that up. Do you really think that they'll trade up to get Trevor Lawrence?
No, because I think they're not going to be that bad. Oh, no, I think they're going to be that bad.
There are way worse off teams than New England Patriots. New England. Yo,
all right, no. Next week. Next week.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we will get into that next week.
Okay. We'll talk about that. Let's move it over to the AFC West. Okay, hold up.
We're going straight to the West.
Yeah, let's before we go from the AFC East to the AFC West, do you think that there's going to be any wild cards in the AFC East?
No,
me neither.
I had to look at that.
If anything, the Bills screw it up really, really, really badly, and the Jets take it, or nobody is like. There's no way that the Bills and the Jets are both making it into the playoffs this year. I just don't see it.
I agree. And remember, guys, this is the first time we're going to have 3 wild cards and only a bye week from the number 1 seed.
Right.
So we have, right now, as it stands, both of us have the Bills in the playoffs.
Yep.
All right, AFC West.
I mean, if
it's too easy.
Seriously, dude, the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is by far and away the most dominant quarterback in this division.
He's the most dominant quarterback in this generation.
I honestly can't argue that. I want to,
and when I say this generation, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, they're not in this generation. They're
grandfathered in. Yeah, they're grandfathered in.
The next generation is even Russell Wilson's just above this generation. It's the Kyler Murrays, the Lamar Jacksons, Patrick Mahomes,
Jones,
Deshaun Watsons, Daniel Jones. That's this generation.
Yep.
And I fully agree that Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's not going to come off this Super Bowl win and just magically turn into garbage. It's not going to happen.
If there's any team in the league right now that I could say would be the next dynasty, I'm going to put the Chiefs there just from watching what I've seen from Patrick Mahomes the last 2 years. Am I going to come out here and say that the Chiefs are the next dynasty? No, I'm not going to say that. But they have the opportunity to be.
Life gets hard when you have to start paying other players that aren't your quarterback.
And your quarterback just signed a massive contract. And I like that you brought that up.
That's the only thing I'm worried about with the Chiefs and a potential dynasty. They can't keep paying people.
I fully agree with you. But you got guys like Frank Clark who are mediocre and Tyreek Hill who are, he's fast, but he's not the greatest wide receiver.
He is only considered one of the top 10 wide receivers in the league
because of Patrick Mahomes.
The ball.
Yes, because of Patrick Mahomes.
And which is crazy to think, because you never heard everybody say, "Oh, Julian Edelman's a top 5 wide receiver in the league because he has Tom Brady throwing to the ball." No one still took Edelman serious. Same with Welker.
Yeah.
It took Randy Moss coming to New England for anyone to call them a serious duo.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely.
Tyreek Hill is a top 10 in the league right now. Get out of here with that.
He's mediocre.
And has Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to rant real quick.
No. I 100% agree with you. I don't think you slapped Tyreek Hill in the Broncos, and I don't think he's, doing nearly as much as he did
No,
with the Chiefs.
not at all.
No, it's because of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is, when people say LeBron James is so good because he elevates players, we're finally seeing what a good quarterback like Patrick Mahomes can do to okay wide receivers.
Exactly. Where do you want to go next? North or south?
AFC South.
All right. Do you have any teams in the wild card from the AFC West?
If I'm from the AFC West,
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. If there was going to be anybody, I would say either the Broncos or the Raiders.
So I have nobody.
You have nobody? You think everybody's going to come from the North or the South?
Yep.
Okay. All right. If it was going to be anybody, I would probably slap the Raiders or the Broncos in there, just because I think John Gruden's runway of gutting this team 2 years ago has to come to a head. And
he
if it
needs a better quarterback.
Dude, I don't think Derek Carr is the answer. Derek Carr is not the answer there in Oakland, man. But
I want you to know there's certain things that me and Nick don't actually talk about before we go live. And then it seems like me and him have the same question or the same views on the league, so to speak.
This gutting that happened of the Oakland Raiders last year has to come to a head. And if it doesn't, we need to start raising some eyebrows with John Gruden. That's what I'm thinking.
He needs another quarterback, and I'll give him this year with Derek Carr to realize it doesn't work.
I think
he's got this season. Carr has to go.
He's got 5 years to figure this out after that huge gut that he did. Like, he just stripped the team bare and started rebuilding. But if Derek Carr doesn't start making the strides that he's supposed to be making, then we need to be looking elsewhere. And I absolutely agree with you. So if anybody is, it's going to be the Raiders or the Broncos, but I honestly don't know. So I think you're probably looking at the Steelers, the Jaguars, and the Titans as or not the Jaguars, the Colts as your 3 wild cards. That's just me though. But
all right, let me take a guess then. The way you have the AFC North and South, you have Pittsburgh and Houston. Not Pittsburgh. Baltimore and Houston winning.
Yes.
Okay, so I have Pittsburgh and Houston winning because Big Ben's coming back with a vengeance. I have Baltimore, Tennessee, and Cleveland in my wild card spots.
Wow. Man, you're such a hater for the Ravens, dude. You hate Lamar Jackson like it's a job.
It's not. I mean, it literally is my job. But it's not that I hate Lamar Jackson. I don't even hate the kind of player Lamar Jackson is. I just realistically know that 100% he is going to take that hit that changes his career, and he is not an accurate passer. The second he has to pass the ball, if he doesn't scramble, he is screwed. He is, and I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I looked it up 3 or 4 months ago, right as the season ended. He is the worst quarterback from the pocket in accuracy in the NFL. When he scrambles, though, he is the best quarterback in accuracy in the NFL. If you can contain Lamar Jackson, A, from running the ball, and B, from getting out of the pocket, you're going to beat them. It's that easy.
And we saw that happen a couple times last season.
Tennessee did it perfectly in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're telling me Mike Vrabel in Tennessee figured it out.
Yep.
By the way, I like how tan I am to just, my face goes instant red when I yell. It's great.
It's good stuff. So, who do you got winning the North? You got the Steelers winning the North?
I have the Steelers winning the North. They're still a threat. James Conner, Juju, they really revamped that defense over the last couple of years. And if they don't lead the league in money spent on the PUP, then we'll have no issues. Lightning and Blue Jackets are in the 5th overtime. What?
Yeah, yes. So I've been paying attention to this while we're doing this. Yeah. I think, Joe, end the game. Somebody score.
Boston has a game to play tonight, as far as I know, against
No,
Carolina.
I've been watching this like on the side. I got it on the side over here. It's been crazy.
So Brandon agrees. Lamar will take the hit like Culpepper that changed him.
I hope so, man.
That's that. I don't hope that happens. I just know it's going to happen.
I don't hope for his injury. I hope that somebody sees that it's going to change, that he's not the quarterback that everybody's seeing. Does that make sense?
If anybody,
I don't wish anybody injury.
The NFL came out with the top 100 players in the league, and Lamar Jackson was number 1 over Patrick Mahomes. Yep. Okay. You've already lost me. Your credibility is gone. End of story.
Yeah. All right. So we're banking on the NFC North for me, the Ravens, you, the Steelers.
AFC North.
And I think AFC North, excuse me. But we think that both of those teams are making the playoffs this year, right? We can agree on that? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Cool. Let's move it to the South. I think the Texans are going to win this. I think it's the time. God, I hope it's the time. I like the Texans. I don't hate them. I have nothing against them. J.J. Watt, he's getting old. He's getting a little bit past his prime. Deshaun Watson is always throwing so accurately. He's always keeping up with all of the elite quarterbacks in the league. I think it's time for them. And if it's not, man, somebody has really slept on Ryan Tannehill. But I don't think that Ryan Tannehill is as good as a quarterback as everybody's talking about.
So my biggest issue is that team got worse. Are they still in that division? Are they still a playoff team? Yeah, the Colts are probably a year or two off. Jacksonville is literally turned themselves into a dumpster fire overnight, but they got worse. DeAndre Hopkins for Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, what? I don't know what that is, but somebody had to have seen something. God, I hope somebody saw something somewhere that Texas or the Texans are not a complete dumpster fire. I'm hoping. I'm still holding out, but
they're actively in the playoffs every year. So I'm not. They're not a. Bill O'Brien is not. He's an Andy Reid. He is really. That's what it is.
Right. Phillip Rivers does not change the Indianapolis Colts into being a contending team of the division. Now, they might make the playoffs.
Just real quick, yes, DeAndre Hopkins is now in Arizona.
Yes, he plays for Arizona. The toughest league or the division in the league. Just saying. But Phillip Rivers does not tip the scales for the Indianapolis Colts to get into the top tier of that division. Now they're competing for a wild card because of that. That's just where I'm looking at.
Tennessee has to rely on Derrick Henry until Ryan Tannehill learns football.
Absolutely.
I said it. I'm not afraid to say it. Ryan Tannehill literally needs to learn football before I can take him serious. If I can call a defensive play before him on the field and I'm watching on freaking TV, then he doesn't know football. And it's that simple.
I agree with you.
If they can ride Derrick Henry, I just threw my pencil. If they can ride Derrick Henry, then I actively 100% believe they would still be in the wild card.
Derrick Henry is probably one of the best running backs in the league right now. And I hope that Ryan Tannehill can figure it out before Derrick Henry runs his numbers too much. And those carries start getting more and more and more, and his value gets less and less and less.
Derrick Henry led the league in rushing attempts last season with 303. Now, Ezekiel Elliott was right behind him at 301, but then the next closest guy was CMC at 287.
But here's the thing. And I know we're running out of time and we're supposed to talk about the top running backs, But
we'll get into that at the start of next week. So we had a plan to go over the top 5 running backs. We're running low on time. We've got 7 minutes left in the NFC predictions to talk about. So we will open up next week with our top 5 running backs going into 2020. Continue your thought, Nick.
And I just want to quickly run it out there. I'm pretty sure that the Dallas Cowboys last year saw Dak Prescott throwing it better and pulled back a little bit on Zeke running the ball. So when you say Zeke had less attempts because of Derrick Henry, or had less attempts than Derrick Henry, well, something's got to give. The reason why I was bringing that up is because we were going to talk about the top running backs, but that's irrelevant. Let's move over to the NFC real quick because we're running out of time. Why don't you
NFC East?
Pick me a spot. Okay. Man, the Eagles have to win this. The Eagles have to win this, and the Cowboys are going to be the wild card in that division.
I have the Cowboys winning the division and nobody else. Nobody else making the playoffs.
Man, I think the Eagles have to win it, dude. And if they don't, what have they been doing since?
Carson Wentz is the most overpaid quarterback to do nothing.
This is what I'm getting at. That's exactly what I was getting at. If the Eagles do not win the division, then I think getting rid of Nick Foles and paying Carson Wentz and winning Super Bowl was the worst thing that we've seen in the NFL in a long time.
Jason over here, Jason McGinn, Cowboys are winning the division.
You're
crazy for thinking they're a wild card.
I honestly think the Cowboys could win the division. I'm banking on the fact that somebody figured something out in Philadelphia that brings the Carson Wentz decision into perspective, because I haven't seen a damn thing since Nick Foles won them a Super Bowl.
I don't disagree. All right, let's we got 5 minutes left, so let's roll through this. The North, the NFC North.
Why don't you tell me what you could? The NFC North is a toss-up for me. Why don't you?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, man. I want the Packers to do so much better just because I don't dislike Aaron Rodgers, and I like the rivalry that happens between the Seahawks and the Packers. I've grown to love the Packers just because of that. I've grown to love Aaron Rodgers just because of the crazy mashups that the Seahawks and the Packers have had. But you're absolutely right. The Vikings are on the up and up. And they're just getting better.
Diggs and got a rookie named Justin Jefferson who is just as good, if not better.
Just going up.
Is almost still intact. Minus Everson Griffin, who opted out and still doesn't have a contract, by the way.
He's going to Seattle, baby. I'm calling it now.
You also said Jadeveon Clowney was going to be with Seattle 2 months ago. How'd that work out?
It didn't, but I was praying. It didn't. Okay.
So, I'm going Minnesota, and I think the Packers missed the playoffs.
You think the Packers are going to miss the playoffs? You think that we're going to see 3 teams from the NFC West make the make the playoffs this year? Please tell me that you think that's going to happen.
Yep.
Wow.
I do.
Okay. All right. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. But
let's move to the South before we get to the West.
Okay. The South. Absolutely the Saints. I don't think that there's any team in this division. Really? You think the Saints aren't going to win this division?
Oh, no, I have the Saints winning the division, but you're forgetting about one huge key to this.
No. Don't. No. Tom Brady and Gronkowski do not make the Buccaneers win the division, dude.
They have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin already.
No, dude. Chris Evans and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin make great downfield threats. Tom Brady can't throw the ball more than 15 yards.
You're telling me you don't think Mike Evans You're telling me you don't think Mike Evans can work the slot.
He dinks. Well, I'm not saying that he can't. But Tom Brady is a dink and dunk quarterback, and he's been for a long time. Come on, man. You think Shady McCoy has been shady in his house for the last.
He is perfect at dumping the ball off. That's all he can do.
That's why they got him, because Tom Brady can't throw the deep ball, and that's what the wide receivers in Tampa Bay are good for.
I have the Buccaneers taking the wild card and the Saints winning. Make that clear right now. And I also don't think the Buccaneers get out of the first round of the playoffs.
God, you are such a Boston fan, dude. I admittedly hate Tom Brady. No,
well, and I've said that literally since I started the Game Changer.
I refuse to believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers turn it around because of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski.
All right, so we are dissecting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week.
All right, we can do that.
That's happening. All right, so real quick, we have a minute left. Who do you got in the West? Who's winning the division?
Seattle Seahawks.
Same. All right, that's obvious. Who do you got in your wild card?
San Francisco 49ers. And I think the Packers.
Yep.
And the Eagles. Or right, so the Cowboys, the Cowboys. I said the Eagles were going to.
The wild card in my NFC is the Buccaneers, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Arizona Cardinals. That was perfect.
We need to talk more about that when we got more time. We'll see you guys next week about that.
Oh, yeah. Arizona, as I'm writing it down so we don't forget.
Let's write down NFC West discussion because we need to dissect that a little bit more.
All right, so as we said, we are up against the clock right now. We have the top 5 running backs opening up next week. Don't forget, tomorrow we have our wrestling show. And then on Thursday, we have our hockey and our basketball shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you checking out every single one of our shows. Nick, what do you got?
Make sure you guys check out the shows the rest of the week. We got the Behind the Basket, Inside the Ice. We got Circle.
Circle
okay.
Monkey. Squared Circle Talk. The only ones I didn't say were the
Talk Interference Sports.
Yep. Are you gonna be on this weekend?
I will. Now that I'm all set up, we're good.
We had our first week and you weren't even on.
I was moving. I'm sorry, guys.
I guess it's an okay excuse.
We got
ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. We love you. We will see you next week. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow. He'll see you Saturday, and we'll see you together next week.
Bye.